By now, you've probably heard me raving about Osea. I'm obsessed with their Mega Moisture Duo, and I even caught my partner using it the other day because he smelled like seaweed. Now that's hot, right? You know who else would love Osea? Your mom, or your friends that are moms, or if you're a mom, because being a mom is hard work, and I think all moms deserve a spa day this Mother's Day. And what better way to make every day a spa day than with Osea's Mega Moisture Duo? And right now, you can even get an additional 10% off your first order with our code DATEABLE at OseaMalibu.com. Treat moms to the everyday spa experience she deserves with clean, vegan skin and body care from Osea. Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code DATEABLE at OseaMalibu.com. You'll get free samples with every order and free shipping on orders over $60. Head to OSEAMalibu.com and use the code DATEABLE for 10% off.
The Dateable podcast features real stories from real people of how they make modern dating work, or not. I'm your host, Yue, former dating coach turned dating insider, if you will. On each episode, you'll hear commentary from my producer, Julie Kraftchick, and other surprise co-hosts. This episode of Dateable is brought to you by 500 Brunches. 500 Brunches connects like-minded people with similar interests to meet in real life over brunch. You answer a quick questionnaire about your interests and how you spend your time, and then they'll match you in small groups of 6 to 8 at a brunch spot in San Francisco. Get a free entry into a brunch now by signing up at 500brunches.com and using the code DATEABLE. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Dateable, a show all about modern dating. We're still in the off season, getting ready for season 6, which is about to start with a bang. But before we do that, it's time we revisit a panel we moderated at General Assembly on tech and dating. The discussion tackled 5 main challenges of modern dating, including the paradox of choice, the messaging black hole, superficiality, lack of mystery and romance, and the lack of accountability. Our panelists included industry experts from Coffee Meets Bagel, 3-Day Rule, The League, and Luvidya. And the goal of the discussion was to find ways to leverage technology to work for us when it comes to finding love. So let's go from the very beginning.
Welcome to our panel discussion on tech and dating. I'm Yue, I'm the host of the Dateable podcast, a show all about modern dating. On each episode, we feature real stories from real people of how they make modern dating work or not. And a lot of times on our podcast, we hear people complain about online dating. They're fatigued, they're frustrated, and also sometimes ghosting, the texting black hole, how to meet someone in real life, catfishing. It seems like there are a lot of conundrums that people face when it comes to online dating. But before we get to that, I want to talk about the purpose of this panel. We can complain and bitch all we want, but we need some solutions and resolutions on how to make technology work for us instead of against us. So we're going to learn some ways to leverage technology in our search for love. Before we get started, I want to introduce all the panelists. So if you could say your name, your title, the company you work for, and the last time you had, when was the last time you had an online date?
You said no surprise questions. Hi everyone, my name is Lucy and I'm CEO of Luvidya Dating Coaching Services. And I help my clients to date successfully. And the last time I had a date,
Online date.
We were just discussing with Coffee Meets Bagel some of the dating stories. It's been probably 3 weeks ago. When was my last date?
And how was it? Second date?
We will see.
Hope your date is not in here. So. All right. So I'm Daniel. Pleased to meet you. I'm a data engineer for Coffee Meets Bagel. And the last online date I had was a while back. I'm dating someone pseudo-stable now. and it's probably like 6 months ago.
So have you guys DTR'd?
Sorry?
Have you DTR'd yet?
What's DTR?
Oh! Anybody? Yes.
Define the relationship.
Oh!
Define the relationship, Daniel.
Yeah, I think we have.
It's been 6 months.
We have.
Very
I have a Nintendo Switch now, so I guess that means something, right?
How is that correlated?
She needs the stuff on my house, so.
Oh, got it. Okay. Her Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Blake, and I am an Android engineer at Coffee Meets Bagel. And my last online date was probably a few weeks ago, as I'm sure we'll talk about, and a lot of you guys experienced the waves of interest in online dating. You really love it, and you're really over it. Right now, I'm kind of crescendoing, doing this motion. I'm sure I'll get into it again. I'm on the app all day, so get over it.
Hi everyone, I'm Tina, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at 3 Day Rural. We're a personalized matchmaking company. And my last online date was about 2.5 years ago. My boyfriend is here right behind me. And we actually met on Coffee Meets Bagel.
I'm Talia, I'm the CEO of 3 Day Rural, and my last online date was about 10 years ago. Online.
My name is Tim Zaitsev, Director of Engineering at The League. Online date, 2011? Okay, keep it.
Nice diversity there. My last online date was over a year ago. It was with Todd, my boyfriend, and we met on The League.
Not repetitive here, no.
Do I get my $20 now, Meredith? Or we talked about this, right? Amanda's like, I'm not sure I know about this. So let's start with a big poll. How many of you have never done online dating before? Raise your hand. Whoa. Really? Really? 3. Okay. And how many of you have sustained a relationship of 6 months or more from someone you met online? That's pretty good. About half. Okay. And how many of you have experienced some sort of dating fatigue or frustrations when you are online dating? Okay, so 100%. Yeah. Last question. How many of you are currently on an online dating hiatus? You're deleted all your apps. 1 person. And when do you think you're going to reinstall all of them?
It's me that you have an algorithm that's going to work for me.
Me too. A new one coming out.
We have a new one too, though.
You can also just speak with a matchmaker.
Or come on our dating podcast and talk about it. So before we get to some of the challenges that you guys have faced with online dating, I want to talk about some of the good that's come out of technology. So today, online dating is the second most common way heterosexual couples are meeting. What do you think the most common way is? Any guesses?
College.
Bars.
Friends of friends. That's the most common way. It's also the most common way for homosexual couples to meet. It's the most common way. Now, here's an interesting result that's come out of online dating. And it's not so much that it's a direct result, but it's a correlation, where we're seeing a lot more interracial marriages. And what that really implies is that with online dating, it's increasing your network. Back in the day, like our parents didn't have access to this plethora of people, a buffet of people in front of them. So the only people you knew and got married to were your neighbors, your coworkers, or someone you knew from before, right? A friend of a friend, childhood friend. So they're seeing that there's a huge rise in interracial marriages because we're increasing and diversifying our social networks. It's an interesting result. But along with that, we're seeing a lot of challenges. We're seeing a lot of obstacles people are facing with online dating. So I'm going to go through each challenge that we often hear. This is Julie, by the way, the producer of the DATEABLE podcast. we're going to go through all the challenges we hear all the time from our listeners or guests, and then we're going to try to find ways to resolve these challenges. So the first one, the paradox of choice. Okay, you have a buffet in front of you. This is what happens all the time. You want to try a little bit of everything, and by the end you have a tummy ache and you don't remember what was best, right? That's the paradox of choice. So what often happens with online dating is that you feel like there may be something better out there. And the person you're going on a date with, you're also wondering, do they have another date lined up after me? How many other dates are they going on? So I want to turn this over to Coffee Meets Bagel and the League. How are you accounting for this challenge, and what are some ways you're helping people narrow down their choices?
Should we just...
Yeah, go for it.
So at Coffee Meets Bagel, this is obviously an issue we've thought a lot about. And if you've used the app before, you know that you get a limited number of potential free matches every day at noon. It's 6 for girls and 21 for guys. And these numbers aren't random.
21 for guys?
21. But these aren't random numbers. We've thought a lot about them, and we've discovered that they are the sweet spot for each gender. And what I mean by that is it's enough matches where you feel like you've seen a lot of people and you're interested in seeing more, but it's few enough that you still have value attached to each one of these matches. And then additionally, once you match, we give you a 7-day window to chat with the user. You can extend that, but that 7 days kind of gives it a sense of urgency, which additionally adds value, we feel.
So we at the League take a slightly different approach. The people we give you 3 per day. That's it. So the people that you're looking for are the ones that we recommend. We think with the algorithm, with all the work, with all the people that we've seen, that one of those is going to be good for you. That doesn't mean that they're going to want you back, but that at least gives you, think about it 2 years ago, and it was a really rare window where you could go to a bar and meet someone. Now if you're going to a bar, they've already met for some other reason. They're going on a date, they're meeting friends, they're too busy for dates. Now we're doing online dating. So now pick one person that you can talk to, do that for 7 days. Try to keep up the conversation for 7 days with those people. That's really cool. So 1 person a day, 2 people a day, that's what we think is useful.
Have you ever met a user who's basically exhausted all of their options? I know Bumble isn't represented here, but we do have a guy friend who swiped through the end of Bumble. Has that ever happened?
In San Francisco?
Yes.
What happened?
He moved to New York.
Well, it's all about, if you get 21 matches per day, people don't have an infinite swiping option. And therefore, the turnover, the amount of people that come into the app every day is higher than the number of people that actually go out because they find a relationship. So realistically, and we look at this data every day, and we just make sure that there is the right balance between them. And hopefully you will never exhaust your potential matches.
And how do you account for idle accounts, people who've gotten in relationships that they didn't delete their accounts?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So what happens is if you don't specifically tell our application that you've gone on hold, we call it, because you found the love of your life, we will automatically, the algorithm naturally will start deprioritizing you, obviously, because we prioritize people that are active on their application, that are engaged. And if after a specific number of days, you automatically go on hold, which necessarily means that you have to go back on the app to re-log in and restate your status as looking for a partner.
Mm-hmm. Tim, how do you guys account for idle accounts?
The interesting thing about idleness is there's a reason you've gone idle. So we try to differentiate between if you've gone idle because you've gone on vacation. When you're on vacation, you want to disconnect, you want to turn off and refresh. That fatigue syndrome. So you fatigue every 7 days, let's say, that's your vacation. So let's not do anything to you because you're going to build this up. We may slow it down, we may speed it up, but now it's very interesting because we're creatures of habit. We're going to do the same thing over and over. And so we can see in the data that you have met someone or you're actually much more interested in another person. So having more people to distract you may not be. So that's what we're really looking at is if your habits change, that's a trigger to us.
And let's take this back to this paradox of choice that we're talking about. I want to turn this over to 3-Day Rule and Lucy over here. How do you guys help your clients to navigate through all these options?
So actually, I think a common theme that I've heard around everyone, including 3-Day Rule, is you create a sense of scarcity. And so with 3-Day Rule, what we do is most people work with us for 6 months, and each month we present them with one match. And so on the back end, what that means is we probably vetted 15 to 20 people. We've only picked the best one to present. So by the time we present this one match to the client, it feels valuable. It feels like they should take a second look and really consider it, and it means that most people will say yes. So that's sort of one way that we do it. We bake it into our process. We create this sense of scarcity and that this person's valuable because you get one a month. I think we also do a pretty good job of trying to help our clients navigate all the different things that they're looking for, right? So some clients will come to us and have a checklist of like 30 or 40 things that are absolute must-haves. And so it's our job as matchmakers to really sit down with their clients and understand, okay, let me help you prioritize. If you only pick 5, what are these attributes and why? And so it's our job to really coach our clients to help them focus and kind of hone in on what they're looking for.
Lucy?
I would like to first address a little bit the online dating. So I feel like online dating gives us the feeling that we are connecting, and at the same time we are disconnecting because we don't have the meaningful connections, and we feel like there's something better out there, as you describe it. And most of the dating apps right now are focused on the quantity instead of quality. And I have to say that Coffee Meets Bagel and League are the better apps out there that are actually focusing on the quality. So it's really hard for my clients to navigate through those options. And what I helping my clients with is I tell them to focus on the people who created a good profile, because those people who are investing in their profile, they're going to be investing into you. And second is when you go on a date without expectations. Because when you have too many expectations of the date that he's gonna or she's going to behave certain way, look at you certain way, then you're going to be disappointed because we are all different. And we are looking for the meaningful connection. So give a chance to a person who is in front of you. Enjoy the date. A lot of people forget that. A lot of people forget to enjoy. They go on a date with a mission. And so just enjoy. Be yourself and have fun.
One of the trends we see on our podcast is that people just don't spend enough time on their dates with each other because they feel like, well, if this one doesn't work out, I have one lined up for lunch, or I have one lined up for Saturday. I actually have a girlfriend who's had over 1,000 Tinder matches. She goes on 3 dates a day. How are you actually focusing on the person you're going on a date with? That's kind of the major issue. So what we like to encourage people to do is to spend more time with people, and that's quality time. Don't do the 5-minute coffee date because it's not an interview. You're there to see if you get along with this person as a friend even. It's not so much like, am I going to marry this person? Is this the person my dreams are rainbows and butterflies coming out of my ass? I don't know. But why put so much pressure on someone you've never met before and just spend quality time with them? It's like meeting someone at a coffee shop that you've never met before. You would give them the respect and the time to spend time with them. Second challenge we always hear is a messaging black hole. This is one of my pet peeves. Is you've all had this happen. You match with someone on one of these apps, you start messaging back and forth, and all of a sudden, you start talking about things that you don't really care about, and the messages dwindle down. It starts off hot and heavy, and then it ends up being something superficial, or the other person doesn't respond back to you. So I want to turn this over to, let's go to the lead. How are you accounting for this challenge? How are some ways that the app is preventing people from getting into this texting black hole?
I mean, especially with the scarcity of choice. When you only have a few people to talk to, the conversations are more meaningful. And it's not really in our best interest to keep you in the app. We want you to go out and actually have that date. That's why you're there. You're looking for those people. So we encourage the people to exchange the phone number. Once that's done, it's really, you can take it offline. You can switch to iMessage, or whatever is more comfortable for you, because you're having a more realistic connection. For our members, the ability to even see the read receipts, combat flakiness, combat ghostiness, things like that. Again, of course, have to penalize when people are flaky and ghosty, but that's not the point of the application. The point is meet people, have dates, don't overwhelm yourself by stacking 3 dates on top of each other. Once you've done that, all 3 dates are meaningless. You're really just trying to play the number game. Go out, have fun again. It's not as serious as it has to be.
Before I turn it over to Coffee Meets Bagel, I just want to challenge you guys with this question. Isn't the goal of dating apps to keep users engaged and on the app? So in some ways, it's kind of a conflict because yes, you want them to find someone they really like, but on the other hand, don't you want to keep them engaged in the app so they keep coming back? So maybe this texting black hole is actually good for business.
I'll jump in for you. I think I don't agree. It's not in our best interest to just keep you there. There's so many games out there that just want you to get that viral loop. There's just a patent released about the best way to keep you in the game. We're not playing games, really. We're just trying to meet people and have good relationships and connections. So matchmaking, applications that get you to the person, we can't prove that spark, that X factor. But we can get you on that date with someone who we think you can find someone.
Okay. Coffee Meets Bagel?
So to answer this last question, I think people underestimate how happy we are when people actually write to us, send us postcards, send us pictures of their wedding. We got married and we met through this app. That's unbeatable. It's over everything. And you're in this business if you love that, and you like to see people happy, and that's what we thrive about. It's really, really important for us. On the other side, speaking from a business perspective, there is nothing better than organic referral. If someone met their significant other over Coffee Meets Bagel, you bet they're going to tell their friends. And their friends are going to go on the app. And hopefully we'll provide the best experience possible to their friends too.
Okay. And the texting black hole.
Yeah. So the texting black hole is a huge problem for every online dating application. And probably the way I like to respond to this is through 2 things, through the product side and the data side. So from the product side, we have specific features that we put into place to help us. One of the features is activity reports, which is one of the features that we have in our app. For anyone who isn't familiar what activity reports is, it is literally what it is. It's a report of someone's activity on the application. So if you are looking for someone that is engaged, well, you're going to see statistics for that. You're going to see that he's actually active on the application. And it's just going to give you like additional information to like select on top of the app. On top of this, we found out statistically that some people don't actually write, open up the conversation simply because they don't know how to. So what we do is we provide icebreakers, which is actually an amazing way to get people engaged. And an icebreaker is just simply like a question about a question or like a fun thing about yourself. My icebreaker is I graduated with a crocodile outfit, so everyone has its own, and hopefully that kind of engages conversation. And we found this to be hugely beneficial. The third thing, always on the product side, is as Blake said previously, we only give 21 matches per day. On top of those, we prioritize matches that have mutual friends. So that increases your level of accountability. And also your probability to engage with the people that have mutual friends. This makes every match not a product, but an actual person, like someone that you're actually interested about, that you read about them. And because you have that social connection, that's hugely important. From the data side, instead, I can't not emphasize as much as possible that the algorithm will prioritize people that are actively engaged, that actively want to use the application. So if you are looking for someone out there and you put your efforts, we'll make sure that you get matched with the best people possible.
And I think that goes into messaging as well. How many of you have just sent out a bunch of haze in a row, just hoping one person will respond back, right? We've all done that. If invest more in our messaging and know what your goal is. We get this question a lot. How do I take this offline? If that's your goal, is to meet someone online to take it offline, then you should try to do that in your messaging. Instead of doing this small talk, people can have hours to mull over a message. People can have different personalities through messaging. But your goal is to meet them in real life, right? So why not take that to the next level within the, first few hours of messaging or first 2 days, set yourself a rule. And also, we like this idea of getting that initial message to a phone call. I know we're afraid of phone calls, talking to a real person on the phone, but it actually is really effective in filtering out the people you're going to be spending time with. You've been on dates where you're like, oh, I would have known we weren't going to be a match if I just talk to this person on the phone, right? So we gotta filter better.
Yes, definitely. I just want to comment on this. Use the app as a mediator and take it out. Go on the real dates, make a meaningful connection. What is interesting about the black holes is, and the behavior on online dating is that online dating was thrown at us, and nobody said how to behave. There were never written rules, social rules about how we should behave. When we were little kids, your mom would always tell you, okay, you have to answer this question, somebody's asking you a question, you have to say thank you, you have to say hello. So we grow up with the social norms, how we should behave, right? But when the modern technology came and on all the dating apps, nobody said how we should behave. And the screen is giving us a little bit of feeling that we don't have to keep those social norms going. So it's very interesting what is happening right now with online dating.
Absolutely, we're all in this together. We're going to get through this together. Next challenge we always hear is it's superficial. Online dating is superficial. I'm filtering based on age, height. I mean, I wouldn't have met Todd if it weren't for Amanda and Meredith over there, because we were doing an episode on the league for Dateable, and I wanted to go on the league to check it out, so I expanded my age category, and I just didn't care, and Todd popped up.
Expanded it to 25.
Who would have been normally not in my filtering range, but I did it, and we met. So how do we, and I'm going to throw this over to 3-day rule, do you think preference matching can really predict chemistry?
I would say that the number one thing that we work on with our clients is to be open-minded, exactly the way you did. People have these really short preferences. They'll say, I only want to date 35 to 40. And then we'll say, if I found the perfect guy for you and he was 41, are you going to say no? I'll say, no, I would say yes. So people are just narrowing their pool, and every time you add something on your checklist, you're really narrowing it further.
Lucy, do you have anything to say?
Yes, I think it was also mentioned over here. I would suggest to narrow it to 3 to 5 really core values that you're looking for a partner. Because a lot of my clients will come with this big list, and sometimes it's very interesting what they come up with. And I actually I write it down for them, and I need them to look at the list and say, are you all those things you are looking for? Are you the person on that list? And most of my clients can't even, they cannot see themselves on the list. So I make them to narrow it to 3 to 5 core things. And once you start doing it, they start coming up with a very more meaningful things than just the height and color of your hair, right? They start thinking about, I want somebody who is going to be caring, loving, and somebody who is going to be there for me, optimistic and smiling. So when you start narrowing it down, and then they start dating with those limited values, the dating becomes way more easier and way more fun.
The struggle with dating apps is that you can't really filter based on if they're caring or compassionate or empathetic, just based on pictures and a profile alone. So Coffee Meets Bagel, how do you, first of all, do you match people and then just give them everybody in their matches so that they match these preferences, or do you do any level of curation?
We definitely have a level of curation. These 6 and 21 matches that I told you about each date goes through our algorithm, which Daniel can tell you way too much about, and we really put a lot of thought into it. Obviously, we look into if they're active. We look into active on the app. We look into mutual friends. We look into your preferences. And to answer your previous question about looking outside of your preferences, we also have another section that we call our Discover section, which show you potential matches that are a little bit outside of your criteria range. And we've seen that it's been very successful and has a very high match rate and continued relationship rate. Daniel will tell you a lot more about it, but that's really how we go about solving this.
So one thing I wanted to say is that many people say explicitly they want something, but they really want something else.
Exactly.
Right?
It's like, do you guys ever read Modern Romance by Aziz Ansari?
Yes.
Yeah, great book. You guys should check it out. He talks about this. We really don't know what we want. That's pretty much the
We know
summary.
what you want.
Yeah. And so what our algorithms do is they learn over time. They learn your behavior. They learn how you interact with other people and the depth of that interaction. And we use that information to then recommend you great matches every day.
I just have a question because chemistry is not based on algorithm, and you cannot make connections. I mean, you can make an algorithm based on facts, but chemistry is not.
Right. So what we try to do with our systems is try to learn as much as possible. Probably, it's really hard to specify chemistry. If we find the best approximation possible, and we give a high throughput of matches, right, of high quality matches, which are still capped, we try to aim for the best possible outcome.
What we often see is that people are stuck in their own type. What does that mean? You only know what you know, right? So you're looking for someone that you've already dated before. How do you, Tim, I'm going to throw it over to you, how does the league help people expand outside of their type?
So we get that question a lot to our concierge, and the concierge at the league is really human meets technology. And what that means to us is the team of concierge that support our users enables the user to come to the concierge and say, I'm really getting stuck. I see the same thing, I keep getting into the same problems. And usually you're starting off with, hey, here's a better way to start that off. Or, I'm afraid to message a guy. And that's true, because there, especially Texas, for example, you do not message a guy. You were born that way, your family was that way. And so we recommend, let's go a little bit outside of it. Here's a line that can help. Try this. And all of a sudden people get better. Or I actually just talked to a guy that would probably be perfect for you. His preference is nowhere near yours. But if you open up your preference, we're not saying reduce your preferences, but try it out. See what happens. You may really have a good experience.
So how do you utilize this concierge as a user?
Yeah, well, it's really there. So if you open up your phone, the league, bottom right, concierge, send a message.
Has anybody used the concierge?
There we go. Look.
Great.
Some of the concierge? No.
I know that for the females, there's a really hot concierge, a guy. But we all know that as like a really hot girl.
She's hot, yeah.
Or she's hot. Okay. You might want to make them less hot.
So, this is that matchmaking meets technology, where if you have someone to talk to find out 2 in the morning, you just had a great date, let us know that, because 1, we love to hear that you just had a great date. 2, that really helps us give you that recommendation. 3 people per day, one of those is going to be one that could work.
Can I make a note really quick on the preferences question that you just asked? The majority of our success stories come to us wanting something, and we match them with someone pretty different, and they go on to get married. So a lot of people come to us with, this is everything that I want, but it's not necessarily what they need, and it's really important to work with a matchmaker and talk with them about what are your goals? What would you like in the future? How would you like to raise your children? Because I think a lot of people are not looking at it in the right way. They're focused on what they saw in movies or maybe what their parents told them. It's not necessarily what they need for the future.
So Talia, how do you convince people to believe that, you know, whatever you're giving them may be better for them?
Yeah, a lot of it is trust. I mean, we work really closely with people for 6 months. So they tell us a ton about their background, their parents. We learn a lot about them, and therefore they trust us. So when we meet someone and we say, he has all these things you're looking for, but he doesn't have these few things. I've met him in person and I still think he's worth meeting. They're gonna trust us and go on the date, and they'll be pleasantly surprised. So hopefully at the end, they find the love of their life, but at the very least, they walk away a more confident dater and they've learned a lot about themselves.
You might not have the statistics for this, but how often do you see a client ending up with someone that they never thought they would end up with?
It's the majority of the time.
Interesting.
And one other way that we're able to open up people's minds is we will deliver a match that exactly fits what they said they were looking for, and they didn't have a good date. And so one of the things that we do is we actually do post-date feedback with all of our clients. So after the date, we call them, we say, hey, how did it go? They tell us how it went. We do the same with their match. We call their match, if you like them, if you not. And so that gives us a lot of intel. And so a lot of times clients will be like, oh my God, you were right. Like, you were on the dot. He met A, B, and C, but I just wasn't feeling it. Let's try something new. And so that's another way that we're able to open up clients' minds as well.
That's a great point, because again, on the podcast, we hear people staying within their comfort zone. So you become these dating robots where you can go on these dates and have a great date because you know exactly what to say, you know the mannerisms, you know where to go, but then you leave and you think, was that a good date or was I just entertaining myself, right? So I think what we hear is the minute you feel like you're being pushed out of your comfort zone with someone, that's when you're making a true connection. You're feeling vulnerable, you're feeling just a little bit of discomfort, and that's when you can really connect with someone. Not with someone that you're so familiar with, you're so comfortable with, that there's just no pushing you outside of your comfort zone. Next challenge we hear. Lack of mystery and romance. Is romance dead? So with online dating, you know everything about someone before you even meet them, and some of us, guilty, do a little background check. You know, every once in a while, you just do a little Google, LinkedIn, call up a friend, local police station, whatever. So there's something great about not knowing too much about someone before meeting them. How many of you have had that kind of like butterflies from meeting a stranger you knew nothing about? Just something about that connection, right? That chemistry. So the question is, I'll turn it over to Lucy. How much information should people give in their dating profiles?
You know, it's a very tricky question because I feel like a lot of people, as you were talking about the background check, I'm going to talk a little bit from my own experience. Every time somebody checks my background and they find out I'm a dating coach, they back up. They feel uncomfortable what I'm doing, if I'm going to be judging them, if I want them as a client, and I got a lot of those questions. Are you here for looking for clients? So it's very interesting, you know, to navigate in this field. And when it comes to sharing information, I think you have to have the right connection, right? If I advise my clients on the best way to connect, I would say stay away from the obvious hard topics as money, religion, and politics, and keep it on a light note as hobbies and what you like in childhood, and get to know the person. If the person loves dancing, expand the topic, get to know each other, talk about dancing, go dancing, and enjoy each other. So have an amount of information, just a little bit, get to know them and feel the butterflies when you are exploring something new with a new person. I would also recommend staying away from Facebooks and Instagram. I know it's hard, a lot of people have a public Facebooks and public Instagrams, and the first thing I advise my clients, turn it off. Don't allow people to look at it, because you're spoiling the mystery. You're spoiling all the beautiful things you can do together. Because if somebody look at your profile on Facebook, they see your whole life, from what crazy stuff you have done. And that's very important that you are also able to explore with the person something really fun and something new and exciting.
Great advice. 3-day rule. Talk about chemistry, romance, mystery. These are just commercialized ideas that we've been trying to get back, or are they actually real?
I think that romantic comedies have ruined this for us because a lot of people go on these first dates and they expect butterflies, and if they don't have it, they won't go on a second date. And we are true believers in the slow burn. We really think if you go on a date with someone, you're remotely attracted to them, they seem like a nice person, you have to give them another shot. Because people are nervous, they might be straight out of work, there are so many reasons why they might not be their best self. And when you go on a second date or a third date and really give them a shot, then their true personality comes out. And so many of our success stories happen this way, where we kind of push people to go on a second date and then end up married.
How much information is too much information to disclose in your online dating profile?
I mean, I think you want to, going back to what I said before, you want to keep it light, and you don't want to share your emotional baggage, you don't want to share, you don't want to come off as overly negative. You want to show, it's, in some sense, it's a marketing exercise. You want to show the best sides of yourself, right? Because you're kind of competing with other people and you want to kind of stand out. And so, just basic stats about yourself, your hobbies, 1 or 2 interesting things that might make you stand out. And then just wait till the actual date happens to meet them, and then you can divulge more about your background, your history, but really want to keep it light and friendly and fun.
What about this line? I'm just going to take a little poll here. How many of you have read a profile that said, "I'm not here to hook up," or have written that? Okay, nobody's...
Hands up!
How do you guys, as experts, feel about someone saying, I'm here for something real, I'm not looking to hook up, in their online dating profile?
I think that's every one of our users, the ones that are there for that. We have this wonderful tagline. There are plenty of other choices. You're not here to hook up just to ruin the network for everyone else. It's hard to get into for a reason. Once you get in, there's a level of accountability that you really need to live up to, or find a different one.
But is it necessary to spell out in your profile?
Oh, absolutely not, because everyone else is there for the same reason. If you're there to hook up, maybe spell that out. So
Have you Meets Bagel?
I personally, I like it a lot because that means like this person knows what they want. I like a person who knows what they want, and I don't have an issue with it. Granted, it might come off as a little pushy in the profile when people have different opinions on it, but you should make that known if that is something that you feel strongly about.
So for Coffee Meets Bagel, when you set up a profile, what information do you have to disclose?
So you have to log in with Facebook, and then we grab your name, email, and then I think a lot of it is optional. We ask you for your school, we ask you for your job. I think you have to give ethnicity. I think we have to give height.
Yeah, height, ethnicity, religion, and also what you're looking for.
You don't have to do religion, I don't think.
Okay.
Why do you have to give height and ethnicity?
Well, because obviously those are all part of the magical ingredient, right? And the more information you give us, the more high quality matches we can give you and we can give other people.
Furthermore, you can specify other if you don't really want to put it down. You just have to give us something so we can, I guess, put it.
But not for height, right?
No, height you have to give. Height you do have to give.
Okay. And Tim, what about for the league? What do you have to give?
So because it's targeted at a slightly different audience, we exclude your coworkers, we exclude your friends from your pool. So the people that you're already in the know with, you're probably seeing at bars, you're seeing at friends' events, you're working with these people. So Facebook and LinkedIn, two-factor, we know you're real because you have a Facebook account, and the data is actually in LinkedIn. It's pretty tricky to catfish on the league. The one person that may have ever even gotten in was instantly identified, I think, and that's it. So it's really quite helpful to the user and our whole community because it is restricted.
In the interest of time, I'm going to go on to the last challenge we hear. This is the biggest one, accountability. What does this mean? The biggest problem we always hear is that because online dating has gamified the dating process, it's commoditized people and making people disposable. So what we often hear are these terms like benching, ghosting, breadcrumbing, and now there's zombieing. All these new terms keep popping up. And my friend would put it best. He goes, "These are just terms for people being assholes. I mean, that's it. You don't need any other terms." So what's happening here? There's a phenomenon called the loose networks, and that means we're loosely, now more than ever, we're loosely connected to more people and less closely connected to the people who really matter. And what's happening in these loose networks is that if one person disappears from your network, it's not a big deal. They're kind of a commodity. It doesn't really matter. And we're seeing that in online dating as a phenomenon where until you meet that person in real life, they're not a real person. They're just a profile. So how do we account for accountability? Let's start with Coffee Meets Bagel. How are you helping people to become more accountable in their actions?
So we had mentioned one of our features prior, that was the activity report, and we implemented that so users can be aware of the fact that other users know that they're talking in the app, they're active within the app, and they're always aware of that so they can be more accountable. Also, we mentioned that we use Facebook to log in, and a lot of our matches we send you have mutual friends. And those mutual friends hold you a little bit accountable if you're trying to be an asshole on our app, we hope.
I really can't emphasize enough that this tool, online dating, is we take it really seriously. If you're on our app, you're on to find something. And from a data perspective, we prioritize the best type of connections more than anything else. If you're, for example, just vanity swiping, or if you're just simply trying to do it for your own personal lust, our system will understand that, and we will obviously value a like from you far less than we would value a like from someone else, which gives their only like to this specific person.
So are we all graded in the app?
No, I don't think it's specifically a level of. I don't think we're graded. We don't have a number. There's no number associated to this person. I think it's more, instead of looking at it from like a one number perspective, to look at it over like many aspects. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to balance people out, right? So if someone, for example, is very talkative, right? Well, we're going to try and balance them and put them together with someone else, which, for example, is less talkative. And so we try to meet that. We try to find like the best balance possible, and give you matches that hopefully will not result in this type of behavior.
And Tim, how do you guys over at the League try to help people mitigate this lack of accountability?
I think if you're online, you have this sense of protection. You're invincible. You can say and do anything, but really you can't. And you will have some kind of reprehensible action done to you. You've said something bad to someone, they've early expired. What that means to us is you've matched with someone and then you become really a different person over time. And you get that early expired. Well, the person may reach out to the concierge and say, well, I was matched with someone and I disappeared from my network. Or they flagged me, or they blocked me. All of those are hints to us to say, this user is not accountable for their own actions. Maybe they should be elsewhere. Maybe they shouldn't be finding people online.
Lucy, how do you help clients to stay more accountable?
It's I would say it's very interesting that we actually need sometimes right now dating apps reminding us that we need to be accountable, that we cannot do it as a humans on our own, and I feel like we have to take a little step back with dating and look at it. When I was talking about the children, right? When children are misbehaving, what happens, right? We educate them, we remind them, and eventually we put some consequences on it. And there's nothing of it happening right now with online dating. And how I help my clients, my clients usually want to date, want to invest. So those are people who are looking for something more meaningful. So I do not run into this problem as much with my clients.
And what about 3-day rule? I'm sure you've had clients who've flaked out, stood someone up on a date. How do you, I guess, punish them?
Well, we do a couple of things. One, as Tina mentioned before, we do post-date feedback. So the daters are accountable. They have to call us after and tell us what happened on the date. And that way, there's no ghosting because we know exactly what happened. And I think the best part about our service is we can help our clients. So maybe they're getting ghosted a lot in the real world, but now we know why. So it's possible our clients are interviewing people on the dates and making them uncomfortable. We have guys walking into the date and shaking the girl's hand, and all of a sudden they're in business mode. So these really small tweaks can make a big difference, and then, ultimately they'll not get ghosted as much in real life.
This is a phenomenon we've been seeing on our podcast, is that men and women complain about the exact same things about each other. People in New York, in San Francisco, in LA complain about the exact same things. What's happening here? The things that you're not happy with when it comes to online dating, you're putting out there as well. And we get back what we put out there. So in terms of accountability, it starts with us. If you don't like someone who's benching you, ghosting you, you shouldn't do that to them either. If you don't like the hey messaging or the messaging black hole, don't put that out there either. We have to look to ourselves because obviously, if we're all complaining about the same things, we're all guilty of doing these things. Okay, I'm going to take it into Q&A session now. Does anybody have any questions for our panelists? Yes, hang on one second.
Hi, my name is Carlos, San Francisco native, designer, audio engineer, DJ, etc. Anyway,
are you dating real
not online right now. That's partially why I'm here, but also had an interesting question. A lot of people like to talk about 420 friendly on their profile. That's something I like to do. It's very personal to me, but I'm pretty candid about it. I'm wondering if that's something that's a deal breaker when it comes to dating people, or at least putting it online at first and then disclosing it later. I don't know. What would you suggest around that?
Who do you want to ask?
I like your opinion, so.
That's all. I think it's really important to you, then it's okay to include it in the profile. But if you're open to dating people that aren't 420 friendly, then save it for later, the third or fourth date.
Okay.
I would also say, there's dating apps for everybody. There's a 420 friendly dating app out there. You might want to check that out. Yeah.
So I have a question. I don't know who I'm asking, to be honest. Anybody who has an opinion on this, but something I notice as I use the apps is that I run into a lot of the exact same profile over and over again. I run into the sort of archetype that I run into repeatedly in San Francisco, the who loves travel, and foodie, is into adventure, likes to read a book once in a while, all these things. And it tells me absolutely nothing about them, because pretty much everybody likes these things. How do you get around this? Or how do you, maybe this is a cultural thing, but how do you solve this problem?
Okay. Well, the way we solve it is that we write the bio based on our feelings meeting that person. So when we send you a bio, it's based on our meetings. So we'll say, we met this girl, she's incredible, she's witty, she's done all these things in her past. So you get so much more information about that person, and it's based on our experience.
Yeah, for us, the people that show up on other applications, they use the same photo. The way that you come onto the lead is there's a review process to get in. So we don't really need more lawyers on our app. We have the lawyers in the lead. So now it's, are you a Doctors Without Borders? Are you doing something that's different than Machu Picchu?
And Lucy said this earlier, the more you invest in your profile, the better of a response you're going to get. So I think this is actually good news for you because you just weed out all the people who have the generic profiles, and you'll find a few that actually spent time doing their own profile. And then I'll throw it back to you, make sure your profile isn't generic and get rid of those Machu Picchu pictures. Any other questions here?
Alright, curious, 10 years in the future, is online dating, is this just the new normal? I think now when you meet someone online, it's like, oh, you met online, it's still kind of, taboo, but say 10 years is, down the line, is meeting someone online just gonna be, that's how we're, used to meeting someone?
Fabulous question.
So I think that I love the fact that online dating is a tool, right? But you have to go on a real date. You have to meet the person in real life. So use this tool as best as possible. But you never want to change the actual way you meet people. Like organic connections are obviously amazing. And what we're trying to do with this tool is we're trying to build those organic connections. We're trying to see what people do organically, and we're trying to basically use the power of lots of people and intelligent algorithms to go that way. But no, we would never want that to change.
And Tim, you guys are working on something. Is now the time to talk about it?
The internet is teaching us about ourselves. It's teaching us about ourselves so quickly, almost too quickly for us to be able to even handle it. Imagine 5-10 years ago, you saw someone walking down the street on a cell phone. That was the weirdest thing that you could possibly see. But now, it's okay. Now everyone is doing it. So, 10 years from now, when we've learned how to be accountable online, what the consequences of our actions are, hopefully it's not too late, but we'll meet people who also want this.
And just a technology-based answer to that question is we're exploring this idea of VR dating, virtual reality dating. So beyond the online dating apps, beyond the websites, imagine 2 years, 1 year from now, 6 months from now, you just put on your VR goggles and you could be meeting someone from Germany at a coffee shop in France. So is that going to help us connect better? Is it going to help us disconnect? What's going to happen? That's kind of the answer, the question we have to answer. How is technology going to help us to connect deeper, not just connect more? One last question. Yes. No, women want to ask questions here?
Without picking on any of the apps represented up in the panel, maybe looking at maybe a mainstream app, what are your thoughts, even if it's anecdotal, about fake profiles and balance of genders in the heterosexual dating pool?
Well, I wish Bumble was here.
I mean, it's really hard to get a fake profile on the league. It's very easy for us to tell. It's got one photo, it's got no LinkedIn data. The history is there. And Facebook history goes back for 15 years now. So if you have a history of a year, maybe you just discovered the internet. If you have no LinkedIn history and no work history and you've never been to a school, and your photos actually appear everywhere else online, I don't know, what does it look like to you?
Yeah. With Coffee Meets Bagel, it's the same thing. You have an approval process. Before you're actually shown in the wild, there is an approval process. And that's when we have like a multitude of algorithms or and customer service that basically make sure that you are not a scammer. And obviously, like there are obvious people and there are not obvious people, right? So as saying previously, obvious people have like no mutual friends, a new Facebook profile with 0 friends. These are easy things to spot. These are things that we block from day 0. But there are also hard ones. There are smart people out there which obviously are harder to match, and that's why our customer support is like hugely invested. And we have there you go, there he is, there he is. He's hugely invested in answering everyone's inquiries. And as soon as we have like a 1% signal from other people in the community that you're a scammer, well, you're going to be basically placed on hold immediately, and we're going to do further investigation. We take it very seriously.
Very seriously. And seriously, we need to wrap this up. We're running out of time. We're just going to go around, starting with Tim. Give us one parting last word about how people can make technology work for them and make dating more enjoyable.
Try and disconnect. Try and disconnect once in a while, just to see what else is out there. If you don't go to a baseball game, go to a baseball game. You'll meet someone, and then bring that back into online, because you'll learn more about yourself.
Talia?
I always go back to just being open-minded. Like, use all the apps, they're all amazing, there's so many resources out there, but expand your mindset.
Tip for women is message first. A lot of women are still pretty traditional, but what they don't realize is that men love getting messages online. If you look at the average male's inbox versus the average female's inbox, it's a huge difference. So you really stand out and make the first move, and why not? Just send a quick message and good things can happen.
I know, I do. My advice would be quality. I see it in myself all the time. I just fall into a routine. I do the same date. I send the same messages. Really, what am I expecting to get out of that? I need to put in the time. I need to put in the effort to make a quality date, to have a quality conversation, have a quality profile. Get out what you put in.
I would say try swiping less and try just getting a fixed number of people that you want to match today. Take it very seriously, because you can always swipe infinity, but you always automatically we're just going to treat people as products, and that's not what we want to do. We want to actually understand more about these people. So limit the number of options you have per day, and consider every person as unique.
I would say go on a real date and have so much fun with your date and enjoy your date.
Great. I would say two things. One is quality over quantity. Filter better. If you don't filter better, you're just going to go on a bunch of crappy dates and you're going to be in a bad mood. Filter better. Make that phone call if you can. Second one is be accountable. If you want other people to be accountable, you should be accountable too. So learn that accountability and respect everyone that you're swiping left or right for, or matching with. Okay, we're going to wrap this up. Again, if you're not familiar with the DATEABLE podcast, we have a show, it's a weekly show, and we feature these real dating stories, and we had an episode that just came out yesterday about a guy who's 30, he has never kissed a girl. And it's not a rare situation, because San Francisco attracts a lot of high-achieving individuals who focus on their schoolwork, who focus on their academic career, who focus on their careers. And they come to San Francisco and they end up in, in their adulthood, and they think, maybe now it's time to be in a relationship. Does that just happen like that? Boom, get into it? It doesn't happen like that. So that episode is actually really interesting because I think we can all find it pretty relatable. How do you actually go and make that effort to be in a relationship with someone? We're also looking for people to be on our show for season 6, which is going to start in January. So I'm sure you all have interesting dating stories. I want to hear all about it. The whole world wants to hear all about it. We're at 500,000 listens, so you're going to be broadcasting to a lot of people, but we can keep you anonymous. And here's a little secret. We can also change your voice. Yeah, if you're a man, I can change you into a woman. That's true. Okay. And everybody can stay after and say hi to all the panelists and do a little meet and greet as well. Okay? So 1, 2, 3.
Stay DATEABLE!
Thanks, guys.
To connect with us, visit dateablepodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all under Dateable Podcast.